everyone, it's Karen. I wanted to make a quick video today to talk about my TBR for the summer school readathon. It was started by Aldi's Books and I will link her below. But basically this is a readathon for teachers or anyone who is like a lifelong learner and really interested in learning new things over the summer. So I'm a teacher. I teach students with behavior difficulties. Basically, they're the most severe students in our district. If they're not successful in gen ed and they have an IEP and they're still not being successful with a special education teacher helping them, then they come to me and they're basically in my classroom for pretty much the whole day, except for specials and stuff. And we kind of put academics to the side and we really focus on the social emotional skills that kids need to learn just to regulate their bodies. And we do a lot of it with interoception, so kids in trauma kind of disconnect from their bodies. And so we teach them, like, how are your ears feeling? How are your eyes feeling? How's your heart feeling? Just like different things that you might not necessarily always think about how your eyes are feeling, but the truth is, in a self-regulated person, you are aware of your body and how your body is feeling, and then you eventually connect those feelings to emotions, and you realize, like, oh, my heart is beating fast, I might be scared, or my muscles are tensing, I can feel that I'm clenching my jaw, so I can tell that I'm stressed. And then once you have the body feeling and it's paired with an emotion, then typically a self-regulating person would make a decision like, ooh, my jaw is tense. I might need to relax it, maybe take some deep breaths, maybe when I get home, do a meditation, do some yoga. So most of our class is just teaching kids how to regulate their emotions, and then we spend a little bit of time on academics, but typically because we've put all that work into their social emotional skills and well-being, that the time that we do spend on academics can go much further and they can actually make a lot of growth in a short amount of time. But enough about that. To get to the tag, there are a bunch of questions and I hope I remember them all because I did not write them down. But basically there's kind of like a few subjects that you can interpret how you will to choose books around. So the first one is language arts, and I will be reading Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I probably said her name wrong, I apologize, but this is a book I've heard about forever. My cousin actually one time for Christmas took me to a bookstore and allowed me to pick whatever I wanted, and I picked this, but I still haven't gotten to it. I picked this for language arts because I feel like this could be a book that a lot of high school language arts classes could be reading, and I've really wanted to read it for a long time. The next topic is math, and the first thing that came to my mind was I've always wanted to read A Beautiful Mind, about, what's his name, John Nash, I think. But I ended up getting rid of that when I moved, so I don't have that anymore. So I actually have this library book called How To: Absurd Scientific Advice for Common Real-World Problems. This is kind of a mix of science and math, but basically it's just random problems. Like, for example, it talks about building a pool, and they go through all the math about like how to keep the water in the pool and what would happen if the math was incorrect. And yeah, so there's a lot of math and science in this, but I'm choosing to read this for the math prompt. Next up is social studies. So I'm trying to fill in some gaps in my own social studies knowledge, which is not due to my teachers not being awesome, but just because I didn't take enough extra social studies classes. The social studies teachers at my high school were actually pretty liberal and pretty cool, and I'm friends with most of them on Facebook right now, and their commentary on current events is just hilarious and amazing. And I've told them a few times that I really want to have history on tap and just like, well, this was before COVID, but I just wanted to go to the bar with them and just like have them tell us stories, because a lot of the history classes that I had, they would just sit on a stool and tell us stories for the whole class period. But anyway, the book I want to read is The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. I know a little bit about some policies and how they have like impacted Black people more than white people, and there's actually a new policy in Michigan that I wrote to our governor about because I thought it was crap. But I don't know enough and I want to learn more. And then the next prompt is science. And so I'm going to read The Demon in the Freezer. I read Hot Zone a couple summers ago at the beach. Most people probably wouldn't have thought that it would ever be a beach read, but it was so horrible that it was wonderful, and I just kept reading it and being so grossed out. So I'm excited to read this one too. And then finally the last prompt, and there's a couple extra credit prompts that I'll link below because I forgot what they were, but the last like main prompt is extracurricular or specials or whatever. And so I picked PE for mine because I never really was interested in PE as a kid. We basically always played sports that were like intimidating to me, and I wasn't interested in them, when in reality, like really all adults need to find physical activity that is fun for them and makes sense with their life so that they can be healthy and have fun. And I just didn't feel like we explored enough sports where I could have found one that would interest me. And so this is not necessarily a sport that I would ever take up, but something I'm interested in. Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life. And so this is all about surfing, and I believe it won the Pulitzer Prize too. So I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I live in Michigan, as most of you know, because I'm obsessed with Michigan. Like, I lived in Illinois for 10 years and I've just always wanted to come back home to Michigan. So now that I'm finally home, I'm like obsessed with where I live. But I live really close to the beach, and like people do surf in Michigan. You would think that that's more of like California or whatever. No, there are surfers in Michigan. So that's what I'm reading for this readathon. I'm curious if you guys would like to participate. Are there any of you who are teachers? Are there any of you who are lifelong learners and would really like to participate in this? Just leave the comments down below, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.